Hey guys, it's Nate with Sauce Ain't the Boss here again, and today is day number 354 of quitting alcohol. Today I was giving a lot of thought about what makes quitting alcohol seem so difficult. And I've talked in other videos about how there's a mental side of this whole thing, getting your brain right, wrapping your brain around it, the fact that you're kind of dependent on this thing mentally is definitely a part of it. Then there's the physical side. We can be physically dependent on alcohol, the cravings and that kind of thing, physical cravings. Then there's the spiritual side of it, the internal turmoil, the using it to deal with our inadequacies and that kind of thing. And so when you quit drinking alcohol, you have to take a look at all three of those facets of who you are, your mind, your body, and your spirit. And if you just work on one of those, you're missing two other parts of the puzzle. And I think to be successful at quitting alcohol, the first thing is a physical thing. It's to stop putting the alcohol into your body, stop poisoning your body, stop poisoning your mind, and that is a physical thing, to physically stop doing it. And then your body will start to reset itself, and your mind will start to, over time, become more clear. And, so just doing that one thing, things start to do their works, your spirit starts to have to grow, because now all of a sudden you have to feel some discomfort, and you have to go through life without your drug now, and there's spiritual growth in that. And it's just like when you quit alcohol, if you're physically dependent, some people have some pretty serious withdrawal symptoms depending on how long and how much you're drinking, and a lot of other factors. And so you're physically, at that point, can be dependent on alcohol. And so as soon as you quit drinking it, you start to feel discomfort, right? Your body starts to react to no longer being poisoned, and can have some, negative side effects from that. And that's the thing, though. You have to go through that discomfort of the withdrawals, the discomfort of that, to get on the other side and get better. And it's the same thing with the mental aspect, the physical aspect, the spiritual aspect. You have to, get through each one of those hurdles of discomfort that each one of those offer, because each one's different. The spiritual side, that empty feeling inside, that pit that you feel when you quit your alcohol, the thought of never drinking again, what that makes you feel like. There's some spiritual stuff that goes on, right, when you quit drinking alcohol, and you have to learn to, find out, what's your meaning of life without alcohol now? What's life gonna be without your drug that you've depended on for so long? For some of us, that can be kind of scary, maybe even. And so, but going through that and facing that and coming out the other side of it, because I've had to do all three of these things over the last year almost now. Look at each one of those facets of my relationship with alcohol and my mind, relationship with alcohol with my spirit and with my body. And let me tell you guys, alcohol wasn't doing me any good for any of those things, even a small bit. And so, and you don't really see how bad it was for you till you pull away from it, and those things start getting better. And so, quitting alcohol is one of those things where it's multifaceted. It's not just as simple as stopping the alcohol. That's probably, like I say, the easiest part, is to just not pick it up and put it into your mouth. It's all the other things that go on after that, the physical withdrawals, the mental game of how am I going to do without my drug now, that spiritual pit inside, all those things that come after you stop drinking it, right? And so be mindful of that as you enter into this, or as you're in this, is that you have to nurture all three of those things. You have to work on your mind, you have to work on your body, and you have to work on your spirit. And if you, like I say, just do one and not the other two, or do two and not the other one, or whatever, there's a piece of that puzzle that's missing that might make you go back to alcohol if you don't get that thing right too. So I didn't really know that in the beginning, and being a year almost in now, I can reflect on that and see how, and one thing's connected to the other. That's what's so weird. It's mind, body, and spirit, but we're all one being, right? So, and, I'm not trying to make this video sound hippy dippy or anything like that. I'm not one of those, types of folks, but, the reality is I do believe that there's three parts to us like that. And I think that, I've had to experience, each one of those individually, deal with each one, and the consequences of my long-term drinking and the impact it had on those three parts of my being. And I regress backwards in all three of those by drinking alcohol. And so I think for me, and my advice would be to for you guys, is the minute you physically stop drinking the alcohol, work on your physical self. I mean, and that is going to help you with your mental as well as your spiritual. For me, when I started putting good foods into my body, when I started exercising, I got some of that relief and release that I needed. Some days when I was having really bad cravings, and it seemed like I wasn't going to make it through this journey, I was stressed, my mind wasn't firing right, I felt that pit inside I'm talking about spiritually. I would go for a sprint or a run or just some serious physical exertion, and get outside and hike or whatever it took. And by working on that physical release, it helped with those other things as well. It helped my mind to clear up. It helped that pit to be a little bit less. And so I would have had a really much harder time in this process of quitting alcohol if I didn't put that physical fitness and nutrition as a big priority. And I can't emphasize that enough. I really don't know how I would have done this without doing that. I'm not saying it's not possible, but for me, maybe it would have been impossible. I know that the good well-being I got out of exercise and nutrition really helped me to fix those other areas, because like I say, it's all linked, right? And so the next big game, like the mental game, is that whole thing where I've talked about your mind can either be your best friend or your worst enemy when quitting alcohol, because you get those thoughts to drink, or that you can drink again, or that you want to drink again, or that your mind tells you this isn't worth it. What's life living if you can't have your precious alcohol, right? And so that mind game that goes on is so loud when you try to quit drinking alcohol. It's just that battle of I don't want to drink, and this part of your mind, I do want to drink. And it is the loudest thing you'll ever hear. If you hear yourself and these thoughts sometimes going on, it's almost like at times I felt like a crazy person because it was so loud, and there was two sides of me. It was like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, or that angel on one shoulder and the devil on the other, telling you one thing and the other. And it's you got to deal with that. You got to figure that out. You have to nurture and plant. You have to nurture and water the seed that is the non-drinking version of your mind, and you have to let that devil on your shoulder negativity die, right? And you can put focused effort and energy on something, and it will grow and blossom. And so, which thoughts are you going to nurture? Which thoughts are you going to turn off? And that is a big part. Is immediately, once I quit drinking alcohol, I started working on the physical thing. I started watching my mind just going bonkers, right? And I'm sure you guys know what I'm talking about. You're sitting there about ready to go down to the store to go get more alcohol. Got your keys, ready to drive. Hell, I've gotten in my car, started heading down to the store, and turned around and said, I'm not doing this. That's how nutty it gets sometimes. And you guys know what I'm talking about. It. So, you got to learn to deal with that quicker than later, right? Because the sooner you can get a grasp on your mind and start watering the thoughts of what your life's going to be like, how great it's going to be when you quit drinking alcohol rather than how shitty it is because you stop drinking, right? It's what you think about. If you think the best of somebody, you look at somebody's all their positive attributes, what makes them a good person, rather than focusing in on your negative. If it's your spouse, your kids, or something like that. Or even yourself. If you're looking at yourself and go, these are my strengths, this is what I'm good at, you're going to have a higher opinion of yourself or other people if you focus in on the positive. But if you choose to go after the negative in something, a situation or anything, your mind gravitates towards the worst of something, then that's what's going to get fed, right? That's what's going to grow. That's what's going to end up taking over. Is you're going to have the worst opinion of this person because all you're thinking about is the bad, dumb crap they do. And, this is the same thing. You have to make a focused effort on shutting down those thoughts of wanting to go back to alcohol, shutting down those thoughts of what alcohol was doing good for you, how life's not worth living now that you've quit your alcohol. Just see that as lies, and that they're just thoughts. They're not who you are. They're just, just things that come in one ear and out the other, so to speak. It doesn't define you. It's not who you are. Your thoughts aren't you. You have to learn to separate your spirit from your mind. You have to, who you are, what you really want to be, isn't that thought that says go back to the alcohol, drive down to the liquor store right now. That's the side of you that wants to kill you. That's the bad news side of you that's going to take you to places that you can't come back from, that are negative. And so be mindful of that. Be aware of that. I think that's going to help you guys out a lot if you tell those thoughts to go to hell and you focus in on where am I going to be in a year. If I keep on this physical journey and I keep off the alcohol, how much money am I going to save? How are my relationships going to get better? Think about all the all the benefits that are going to come to your life from giving up one thing. It's like I always say that quote, quitting alcohol is giving up one thing for everything. I mean, it's a no-brainer, but yet our brain tries to tell us otherwise, and you got to shut that down. And then the last part, the spiritual thing, that pit inside, that feeling of just discontentment once you quit drinking alcohol. How do you deal with that, right? You feel your mind's running wild, your body's going through adjusting and that's why the beginning of this thing is so damn hard. The beginning's the worst part. It gets easier as you go along, but we think in our whole world of quitting alcohol is the first couple weeks, is the first month, the longest we've ever been, right? If you've never been 3 months, 6 months, a year, then you have nothing to compare quitting alcohol to. Some of you guys do. Some of you are in long-term sobriety. Some of you have gone a year, 2 years, or whatever, and know what it's like to get that far into it. But those of us, like where I was, I never gone past 2 months. I didn't know what was on the other. My trying to quit a day, a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks was always a miserable experience, because that's when it's the worst, right? That's when your mind's running wild. That's when your body's running wild. That's when, it's as bad as it gets. It's like that video game analogy I talk about. Quitting alcohol is a video game in reverse. Instead of fighting the biggest, baddest boss at the end of the game when you're more prepared and you're used to the gameplay, right? You're fighting that sucker right out of the gate. You don't know what the hell you're doing, and it's daunting, it's intimidating, and you're like, screw this game's no fun. I ain't playing this, right? I get it. I've been there, and it's easy to think that quitting alcohol is that first day, first couple weeks, first month, and it's not. That's just the worst of the physical part of it. That's just the worst of the mind running wild, and the worst of the spiritual empty pit feeling, And so, how do you work on the spiritual side? Well, once you get, you got your physical well-being going, your which is tied together to your spirit and your mind, and then your mind's you getting in control of that. Then all of a sudden your spirit starts to grow. It's almost like through those other two things, you start to become a better person because you're becoming more disciplined. You're learning to control your mind, and you start to see that you're growing spiritually. All of a sudden, it's like who you are starts to become a better you, and you start to notice you're more patient. You start to notice you have more confidence. You start to notice that you're being more a better husband, better wife, better to your kids, the people around you, a better boss, a better employee, whatever your roles are. You just start to notice that, and that, is it in the first couple of weeks, couple of months? No, that's when you're cranky as hell because you're giving up your drug, right? But I'm talking 3 months in, 6 months in, 9 months in. It's slow. You start to notice things, And that's not to say don't get discouraged. It's not like you don't start noticing positive things right away. They're there. You have to maybe look for them a little harder. But I was noticing, go back to some of my earlier videos, and you'll see that I'm talking about some of the things I'm noticing within the first day, second day, third day. I'm sure I'd have to go back and watch some of them. But I encourage you guys, if you're on this journey and you want to start out, go back to my day one video, and I hope that gives you something to get you through your day of, Nate made it through day one. What was he thinking on day one? What was he thinking on day two? I'm on day three now. What was Nate, and not that I'm some guru or the end all be all on the subject, but, it could be like having a buddy, go through, go to that. If you're on day 8, what was Nate doing? I don't even know. I'd have to go back and look, but I'll tell you exactly what I was thinking about with alcohol on day 8, and where I was on my journey, and what I was thinking about that day about it. And, whether it was the health side of it, the financial side of it, the, this is improving, I had a craving today, whatever, how I dealt with it, because, we need some help sometimes getting through this thing. This isn't something that is easy. Sometimes, some of us need a boost, something that we can use as tools. I would read books. There was other things I would watch, other YouTube videos about it, bounce around, whatever you got to do. If you got to go to AA meetings, or, go to a clinic, again, I'm not against any of these things. I think the most important thing is achieving. If you've got a problem with alcohol and it's dragging you down, you got to get away from it. And any option that gets you away from that, for the most part, unless it's trading one vice for another, which I highly don't recommend doing. But whatever it's going to be that helps you get through it and get on the other side of it is a good thing. And we're all motivated by different things. We're all wired a little different. We all view the world differently. And some people need a "you can do it" message. Some people need a tough love, get off your ass. I'm that guy, I just need to get thumped. I need to get, somebody to tell me quit being such a freaking baby. And I really dig those hardcore, just, the David Goggins type of, get off your ass and get out there and stop being such a baby. But some people, they want a little bit more nurturing or whatever. It's so whatever's going to work for you, right? Maybe these videos aren't right for you, but there's another YouTuber out there that's better for you, then watch that person, But whatever you got to do, guys. But one thing's for sure, it's a physical, it's a mental, and it's a spiritual journey, and you got to focus on all three of those. And if you do, you're going to have a better shot, I think, of being successful at this. And so that's just what I wanted to mention today, is that this is multifaceted, and don't let that scare you or be something that's God, I got to work on myself. I got to work out. I got to freaking, think about what I'm thinking about. And I mean, it's one of those things, when I hear myself talk, sometimes I go, shit, I hope these people watching don't think that this is, as bad as it sounds coming out of my mouth, but it's really not. It's really just putting one foot in front of the other one, guys. I mean, that's the key to this whole thing, is wake up and tell yourself, I'm not going to drink today. And, I'm going to watch my thoughts. I'm going to work on my physical ability. Even if you walk around the block, start there. Even if you do one push-up. I put pull-ups, for example. I hadn't done pull-ups in forever. And I thought I used to be able to just hammer the pull-ups when I was in high school, just a bunch. And I hadn't probably tried to do a pull-up in like 25 years, 30 years or something, So the other day, this was a month, maybe 2 months ago, I could barely do one pull-up, and I was going, what the hell, And so I just started. I'd get on that bar and I'd let myself hang, and then I'd slowly try to, and then I'd do it again and do it again. And, within the last, I don't know, has it been 2 months, month and a half since I started doing pull-ups? I'm up to being able to do like 6 or 7 of them now. And I'm going to keep getting that number up there. But that, you don't start off running a marathon. You start off walking. You don't run before you crawl, right? You just start with what you can do right now. And so don't get discouraged. When I was 50 pounds heavier and just starting into this, I wasn't doing the things I'm doing now. I was grateful and happy to be able to do what I did. And I would notice small improvements. And that's how this is. This isn't something that's, what's the rush, right? This isn't a freaking race. So what if you lose 50 pounds, but it takes you a year, or it takes you, 2 years, 3 years, or it takes you 6 months? I mean, the reality is, if the weight's coming off and you're heading in the right direction, you're going to get there. And so this isn't a race. This isn't something don't compare your results to mine or somebody else's. I mean, we're all going to be a little bit different, and don't get discouraged if it's not happening as fast for you as maybe other people, because, some people are different than others, right? That's just the way that it is. There's people that, don't even have drinking problems like I did. So, I could look at them and say, well, why can't I be more like that, or whatever? Or I just I've got a hand, right? And I got to play my hand that I've got right now to the best of my ability. And I might as well get started and get going on it, and put one foot in front of the other and do what I can. If you do one thing positive every day when you quit alcohol, for your physical self, for your mental self, and your spiritual self, it doesn't have to be long, it doesn't have to be a lot, but every day, if you put a little bit of focused attention on each one of those things, you tell yourself you're not drinking today, it's going to help you get there sooner and quicker than the person that just says, I'm going to just will myself not to drink today and, be miserable, right? I mean, I'd rather be focusing on being positive, focusing on getting some endorphins going from a little bit of exercise, and getting good food, just get my mind clear from the brain fog, be working on how I'm thinking about stuff. And we got to get proactive on, thinking about this thing as best we can. If you go into it with a negativity about you, you go into it with a undetermined attitude, and you can't shake it, you're going to go back to the alcohol. So, if anything worth doing is worth doing well. So, get after it and be positive and work on all 3 of these things a little bit each day, and you'll get there. That's what I did, and here I am, and I'm nothing special. I'm just a regular Joe that, got off my ass finally. So that's it for today, guys. If you guys are enjoying these videos, please give them a like, subscribe to the channel if you can, and most importantly, remember, sauce ain't the boss, you are. You guys have a great day.